Hello grant applicants and welcome to the Melbourne Women's Fund Expression of Interest webinar. Melbourne Women's Fund is a giving circle and a charitable fund account of the Lord Mayor's Charitable Foundation. This webinar has been prepared by members of the Fund's Grants Committee, Kate Eddy and me, Elise Cook, to assist you in the completion of an expression of interest in 2021. This year we have introduced an open expression of interest grant round. Melbourne Women's Fund members can also nominate eligible organisations that fit our grant criteria for consideration. The Melbourne Women's Fund Executive Committee, the Grants Committee, and our members are all involved in the grant making process. Final decisions are voted on by Melbourne Women's Fund members and finalists approved by the trustees of the Lord Mayor's Charitable Foundation. This webinar will cover the focus areas for 2021, eligibility criteria, key EOI questions, and relevant timeframes. We encourage all of our members to be engaged with learning about the social issues affecting our community, the organisations working in those areas, and their impact. At the beginning of each year, our members determine the granting focus areas for the year. As voted for by our members, our focus areas in 2021 are homelessness, family violence, and employment and economic empowerment. We will award one signature grant and one nurturing grant, with the amounts to be announced in early July. In regards to eligibility, finalists from the previous year will be asked to wait a year before they are eligible to apply again. Your organisation must be registered as a deductible gift recipient with the ATO, and reporting must be up to date with the ACNC. A consolidated revenue threshold is set for the 2021 grants round at $7 million. This relates to the reported results for your organisation in FY 2019-2020. Your organisation must undertake the activity for which you are seeking funding. And critical to our membership, your proposed project or program must fulfill the following criteria. It must involve one or more of the following beneficiary groups: young and/or adult women, young and/or adult women together with their families, young and/or adult men, provided the intended outcomes of the activity are for the direct benefit of young and/or adult women, or young and/or adult women together with their families. The activity location and direct beneficiaries of the activity must be located within metropolitan Melbourne. The grants sought from the Melbourne Women's Fund may be purposed to fully or partially support your activity. If your EOI is shortlisted and you are invited to submit a full application, your organisation will be asked to submit further documentation, including your plans for implementation and evaluation, a budget, and referees that are familiar with your organisation and/or activity. The Melbourne Women's Fund Grants Committee assess the completeness of EOIs, ensuring that all questions are answered, and then pay particular attention to reviewing and assessing in a handful of areas. Here are some tips on how to ensure that you address key questions in the EOI. Question 2. Who are the intended direct beneficiaries of your activity? This answer should cite relevant reference sources that support the need for this work. This may be anything from linking this to current priorities for federal and state governments, to citing reports by large community service organisations, or surveys and research undertaken by your organisation. If you have metrics that support this work, please include reference to these in question 1. And finally, help the Grants Committee understand your target beneficiaries. Personalise the story of the women and families you are seeking to help with this funding. For example, one past grant recipient articulated the social isolation of the target beneficiaries by saying, "Forced marriage, including early marriage, is a form of slavery and a major violation of human rights. It is a crime in this country. There is clear evidence of a diverse range of victims in Australia. Some arrive here as brides, speaking little or no English, and with no close family to turn to in this country. Question 4. What will you do? Briefly describe the intervention and/or activities that will take place. This question should include the driving factors for the project, the practical relevance of this work to the community, and clearly articulate what the funding will deliver and how it will benefit women. Make mention of the number of women initially impacted by the project and the longer-term effect in the community. Question 7. What do you intend to achieve for the direct beneficiaries of your activity? What would success look like? This question relates to the aim of the project. It should be no more than a couple of sentences and it should encapsulate what you're trying to deliver. For example, it might be something like, participation in Project X will substantially increase this target group skills, knowledge, confidence, networks, job readiness, and employment prospects through training, mentoring, and paid work experience. Or, our aim is to provide a safe home and wraparound therapeutic care and support for girls and young women who have left or refused to enter forced marriages. We will build the evidence base and support needed to ensure the new project's long-term viability. So essentially, a short, sharp summary that could be read in isolation of any other information to understand your project or activity. Any eligible organisation with an eligible project or general operational activity that aligns to one of our granting focus areas, preferences and granting criteria may submit an EOI. Outcomes will be communicated to all applicants on the 19th of August, with successful applicants invited to submit a full application with supporting documentation as noted previously by 6 p.m. on the 3rd of September. We very much look forward to reviewing your EOIs and learning more about your amazing organisations. Thank you very much for listening.